Like, never like, never like, never like.
Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name's Arena, and if you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and clicking on my video once again. If you enjoy my content, don't forget like, share, subscribe, give me some love. And for those of you that are new, I hope you enjoy the content, and if you do, then please do the same. So today's topic, I wanted to continue my run with setting boundaries and self-love and self-care, and I wanted to talk about why setting boundaries can feel like such a hard exercise and how to start to overcome that. So for those of you that have in the past felt, or maybe even currently feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or maybe like you struggle to say no, or maybe like you kind of just go along with things and then you start to feel frustrated but you can't really say anything. Anyone that's struggling a little bit and just kind of knows they're feeling a bit off, I hope this video helps. And if it does, don't forget, give me that like, share it with other people as well so I can help them in their journey of setting healthier boundaries. And if that sounds good to you, then stay tuned because we're going to go through a few parts in this video. I'm going to first talk to you about why it feels so difficult to set boundaries. Then we're going to talk about signs that you struggle with setting boundaries. And then we are going to go into how to actually start to do that. So if that sounds good, stay tuned and let's get to it. Okay, so part one is going to be why do we fear doing this? So there are many reasons, and I've made some notes, so forgive me if I kind of look up and down a little bit, but this is something I've struggled with. Now, as a young child, I was kind of raised in a family where you really had to do as you were told. And I learned these coping mechanisms where I became a bit of a people pleaser and just kind of always was doing as I was told. And as I've gotten into adulthood, I realized over time that setting boundaries was not a strong point of mine. And it became something I really wanted to learn about. And I know I come across people all the time, similar to myself, who struggle with setting those boundaries. And I notice the damage that can do. Even in healthy, good relationships, even with people that you really love and you want to keep a good relationship with, if you stop putting your boundaries, setting healthy boundaries for yourself, even those great relationships can start to break down. So we're going to go into why do we struggle to do this. So number one is a fear of disappointing others. Like I said, from a young age, we can kind of learn and observe things around us. And it could be that, you've learned that being a good person means never saying no, not letting other people down, not being selfish. And you kind of end up living a life where you are putting everyone else before yourself, and that can drain you. That can, cause us to feel overwhelmed, overstretched, none of which are good for ourselves and our well-being. And our cup is always empty instead of, because we're always giving to everybody else. So this is the first thing. We can just be used to kind of putting everyone else first before ourselves, and it's something we've observed, etc. Number two is a fear of conflict. So perhaps if you have been in an environment, and it could be, in your childhood, in previous relationships, if you have been in an environment where trying to set a boundary led to, conflict or scary situations, or you felt it was met with some sort of repercussion, then again, you may be continuing those patterns and you just don't want to come across that same conflict because that can be painful, that can be unpleasant, so we kind of just avoid it. Number three is fear of rejection and abandonment. So again, we can be quite scared that if we set a boundary, people won't like us as much, or they won't want to be around us as much, or they might walk out, they might leave us. And again, I feel like this is something you can learn from your childhood or, from other painful experiences, let's say, in your life. But the truth is, healthy partners, healthy friendships, healthy relationships will never require that of us. So it is healthy to be able to set healthy boundaries for ourselves. And if that was the case, that people walk out of your life, etc., then it would tell us that they're not the right people for us in the first place. People pleasing tendencies are a very obvious one. And again, if we are used to pleasing other people, so we, feel their love, or again, you may have conditioned yourself to think that sacrificing yourself could lead to, more love and acceptance, etc. This is also not a good thing. And to reiterate what I just said last is, healthy relationships and healthy exchanges do not require you to sacrifice yourself for someone else's happiness to the point where, you feel resentful or unfulfilled yourself, etc. That the right things in your life should not require that you get to that point. And there's also guilt and self-doubt. So if you have expressed boundaries in the past and you've been made to feel bad for them, if you have been, if you've tried to do it in your past and someone's called you selfish, or they have really punished you for it, then you may feel some sort of guilt or shame, or just negative feelings towards setting boundaries, and that might be quite a scary thing. But I'm here to tell you that there are solutions to this, and there are ways you can do this for yourself. I can't stress how important it is that we give ourselves the love and care and environment and just things we need in general to be our best self, because we can then show up for everyone else in a much better way. So this is very, very important. And I truly believe that the right people and the right relationships and the right friends, they will never, ever expect that of you. So often these sort of things we do are self-inflicted, dare I say, based on some previous experiences or maybe childhood experiences. But if you've started to notice that this is affecting your life, then it is important to take control over it and to start to put things in place so you are looking after yourself. As they say, oxygen mask on you first, and then you can look after everybody else after. And I just wanted to briefly touch on what can happen when you don't set boundaries for yourself. One of the biggest things that I noticed is that you almost like lose yourself and you have no idea who you are. So when you break away from the situations or people in your life where you've been overgiving and, doing everything a certain way, you may come across this feeling that, for example, I had done that for so long. I remember breaking away from a difficult relationship and realizing that when I asked myself, what do I like? What makes me happy? What do I need? I was completely lost. I did not have an answer for it. And it's almost like I really did not know myself. And I had to go through a whole process of really finding out who I was all over again, because I'd given up so much and I had put other people before myself for so long that I literally forgot what I even needed. So this is a weird thing, but you can lose yourself completely, and you almost like don't know who you are anymore when you do this for too long. Obviously, you'll feel exhausted and drained, and you can become quite resentful of the people in your life, rightly or wrongly. And you do continue, unfortunately, to attract people in your life who continue to do that. And I'll be honest, this is a gradual process. You cannot switch this overnight, but like I said, there are ways of doing it. Just be mindful that this is really, really important for your own well-being and for your health and for you to have the life that you deserve. And it's really important to break out of this cycle. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to start setting these boundaries? So number one is start small. So you don't have to turn your life upside down and cut everybody out and change everything you're doing. You can start with small things, like if you're feeling tired, just say, you know what, I'm not going to come out today, or I am not going to do all of this work today because I do feel tired. And it's okay to recognize what you feel and to give yourself what you need to feel better. It can be very, very small things that while you build up your inner sort of intuition as well, because also what I realized is when I started to do these things, I really had to check in with myself to kind of make sure that I'm listening to myself, because it was very automatic that I didn't even know how I felt. So there is a little bit of a need to reflect on how you're feeling and to pay attention to that and make it a daily exercise, an hourly exercise. Whenever you feel like you have to do something, just check in with yourself and ask yourself, do I feel able to? Do I feel I've got the energy? Do I have the strength right now to do this thing? Do I have the time to do this thing? Just check in with yourself. And like I said, start small. When you're communicating boundaries with other people, it's very important to not attack or make the person feel like they're the problem, or take our frustration out on them. And this is something that takes time to master. But what I learned over time is that it's okay to have my own needs and my own boundaries, and to ask for what I need. So, for example, if you're having a conversation with a partner or with a family member and you feel they ask a lot of you and you feel like they're not respectful of things, of your time, of your emotions, whatever it may be, the way to communicate that is to say, I need some time to rest, or I feel overwhelmed where I have to keep doing these jobs and I need to give myself a break. Really take back your power over your own well-being, over your autonomy and the things that you need to be your best self. And honestly, that takes courage, because if you are conditioned in a way that you've experienced some terrible things as a result of trying to be yourself and you've been knocked back for quite a long time, that doesn't come easy. So I want to kind of just caveat that, but it is very, very important, and you have to stay strong in that, because truly, if you keep putting yourself last, you will deplete yourself and you will be living a life that you'll never feel was your own. And that's really, really important. You kind of stay in this victim narrative, and it's hard for me to hear that. When I realized that for the very first time, I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm no longer that little child that couldn't defend itself or couldn't ask for what they needed, or was in a world where that wasn't recognized. And you are an adult now. I presume if you're watching this video, you are an adult, and you can use your words and you can express the things you need. Yes, it takes a little bit of work, and you have to look within and practice that, because if you've not been used to doing it, it takes a little bit of time. But it is okay to say, I feel overwhelmed. I feel there's too much going on and I need a rest. Or, I can't come out today because of this, because of that. It's okay to do that for yourself. But make it about you. It's not about anybody else. It's not anybody else's fault, and it's not anybody else's job to set those boundaries for you, because truly nobody really knows. And I think a thing we do, I've certainly done this in my life, where I really expected people to know what I needed and to be able to read my mind, and people cannot do that. And especially in today's world, we are so hyper stimulated all the time. Our brains are constantly on fire. So most people, they're dealing with their own worries, they're dealing with their own concerns. They've got a million things going on through their minds, and even with the best of intentions, they cannot read anyone else's mind. So it's down to you to communicate clearly what it is you need and what it is you want and what it is that you need to give yourself. And that is important to say. Step 3 is to kind of prepare yourself from some discomfort, but keep with it. If you're not used to setting boundaries, and if you're not used to people, to saying that out loud to people, it will feel like you're trying to learn another language, and you will stumble and you will feel awkward, and you'll feel like your accent's not quite right, and you'll feel like you're being judged, and you'll feel like, oh my God, how's this gonna go? It's a very unknown place to be in. But it is very, very important to persevere. It's like a muscle that you're trying to work. You will not be able to build that muscle unless you keep practicing. So it's literally the same. You just have to keep doing it. Like I said, start small, but you've got to practice to get good at it, like anything else. And this is also really important. Step 4 is notice who respects this and who is supporting this, and notice who isn't. This again is quite difficult because, you know, the whole reason why you may be afraid of doing this is because you don't want to lose certain people out of your life. You don't want to alienate certain people out of your life. But I have to be honest with you, and I have to be straight up with you. If you've got people in your life that only wanted to be there when you didn't have these boundaries, then they were draining people and they were not good for you. Now, there can be a bit of a period where people are starting to, you know, it's a little bit of a shock to others because you've never really done that before. And what I would say is the best thing to do is stay strong in that and own it, and don't let people push you into going back on the things you need. It's really, really important that you stand in firmly in the thing that you're saying. Some people will come around and they'll realize, you know, yes, okay, it might be surprising and it might be a bit of a shock to them, but the right people will stick around and they will start to respect those needs that you've got and the boundaries you've got. The wrong people, they won't come around, and unfortunately you have to start either distancing yourself from those people or setting really firm boundaries and sticking to them. I appreciate you can't just cut everybody out of your life, but it is important that you stay firm in the things that you believe in and that you need, and I promise you, you will be better for it, and your life will change for the better as a result of you doing this. You know, it's difficult, I will admit, but it's one of the best things you will ever do for yourself. So keep pushing, and just remind yourself that boundaries aren't about being mean to people, aren't about being harsh to people. They are about showing yourself that respect first and foremost, and giving yourself the love and care and attention and respect that you give to everybody else. You know, I'm certainly someone who's been guilty of this. I'll often put everybody else's needs and everybody else's happiness and comfort before my own. And, you know, that is not sustainable. And it was really important for me to realize that. And yes, sometimes it's uncomfortable. And yes, sometimes you may feel harsh. And yes, sometimes you may feel like it's very possible you're going to lose some people. But it's important to know that if those people don't care about your well-being and your mental health at times and your physical health, and they just don't care about that, then really we don't want those people around us or in our lives. And we certainly don't want to keep giving those people everything we've got whilst we're burning ourselves into the ground for someone that wouldn't ever do the same, you know, that wouldn't ever even respect what we need to be happy. And I was certainly in quite a long relationship where this was a massive imbalance in it. So it's really, really important to listen to ourselves and to have boundaries and to have respect and self-love and self-care, especially if you want something healthy with someone. This is the only way to do it. So I kept it short and sweet, guys, but this is very, very important, and I'd be really interested to hear from you guys. Pop a comment in the comment section. What is one boundary that you need to put in place? What kind of boundaries have you put in place? How did you find it? What advice can you give to anyone else in this position? And yeah, I love to hear from you guys, so please get in touch. And if you want to know more about this topic, please again let me know. If you want to know anything about another topic, again, suggestions welcome. And I hope this has helped someone out there. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I will see you in my next one. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I will speak to you guys soon.
I never like, I never like, I never like, I never like.